Hey guys, August here, came in some more Outriders, and today I want to share with you guys my Eruption build for the Pyromancer. As you can see in the background, this build just doesn't feel anything for anyone. Whether it be bosses or trash or anything, it just clears super fast, and the great thing about it is it's got extremely good boss damage, single target, and then it's also got really good AoE room clear. So overall, I reckon this is the best build in the game, well, at least for Pyromancer, but it's pretty close to the best killing build in the game. And if you just change out the mods a little bit, you can either do more single target damage or more AoE. So it's very versatile. You can kind of do what you want with it, just like a jack of all trades, and it kills everything. Before we get into it, I would like to talk about today's sponsor, deving.net. If you feel like you're struggling with expeditions, or maybe just missing a few items for your build, or even if you just don't have enough time to level that last character, Deving has you covered. They offer many boosts for games like Destiny 2, Division 2, and with the Ving, you can choose whatever you need, whether it be expeditions, custom streamer builds, you choose what you need. And if you use my code AUGISAINT, you will get a discount of 15% on any of your purchases in the store. And the boost works with account sharing and self-play, so they do everything without the use of cheats or bugs, so you can trust they will get the job done. And if you need help with any of this, just type down, hello to the operator that will be working 24/7, and they will get to it right away and help you out with that. So thank you for sponsoring this video, and let's get straight to it now, shall we? So for starters, we are using the Lava Lich set, since we are going to be using Eruption as our main source of damage, and the Lava Lich reduces the cooldown and increases the damage by 100% of Eruption. So it's kind of mandatory. Now the base pieces that you could use would be the head, the chest, and the pants, because they all have anomaly and status, so that's just straight up damage. And then the last two pieces you will need to get with cooldown reduction, because you do need a little bit of cooldown to get this build to work. If you don't have enough cooldown, it still works, it's just going to be a lot harder to pull off because you have to be waiting in between your eruptions. But yeah, so you need two other pieces, preferably purple pieces with anomaly, status, and cooldown. I couldn't get any yet, so I'm using these ones. I'm using the Lava Lich hands actually with max health status, and then I'm using the Heat Seekers because they have nice mods on them with max health and cooldown reduction. So not optimal. My build is missing like 200k anomaly. What's one piece giving me now? 120k. So yeah, like 250k anomaly I'm missing. And then I'm also missing that status on the one piece, and then obviously that's all I'm missing. So there's a little bit of damage I'm missing, and I have two dead mods on this. But as you can see in the footage in the background there, when we started up, it was just killing everything. Really strong build. Helmet of the Lava Lich we're using with increased duration, mandatory, magma coat, mandatory, and death sentence. Those three I would say are pretty mandatory. They do give you a lot of damage to your build, especially the increased duration on the eruption, because you chuck that down and then mobs will be spawning in and will still be there and kill the next mobs that are like spawning into the map. So it's really good. Magma coat just does a lot of damage overall, and then death sentence increases your weapon damage and anomaly damage to enemies affected by Ash Blast, and we will be using Ash Blast in this build for that. And then moving on, we have the robes of the Lava Lich. I can get Captain Hunter on there. Giga Blast and Arms and Anomaly is just when you hit crits you get anomaly damage. Anomaly powers are really good. A huge chunk of anomaly, and then the Giga Blast increases kills radius. You could technically drop that a little bit, but it's really nice just to have that radius and room clear, and it kills everything. You check it on Elite, will kill the Elite and everything around the Elite pretty much. And then moving on to our pants, we have improved damage, kind of another mandatory one because it just scales like crazy for some reason. All of these new damage mods have been actually buffed or increased, because before the old damage mods you would like never put skill damage mods on because they just didn't do anything. But now they do a lot of damage. Improved damage, must have. Master Consumer is another little one where you can kind of play around with it. I did do two different runs with and without it. And what I swapped out for Master Consumer was then for another cooldown on my Eruption. So I could have 3 Eruptions, or I could have Master Consumer and 2 Eruptions. Honestly, I would say Master Consumer is more beneficial because it just helps you out so much with the ad clear. Like, it kills all the trash mobs pretty much for you, because what it does is it makes overheat hit twice as hard, and a little bit more. 150% increased damage if it has burn and ash on the target when you consume it, and most of the time they will have burn and ash on them at all times. So then when you hit your overheat, it will actually kill like all of the trash, and it's room wide, so it's really wide and big AoE. I like to use the Master Consumer. I would almost say it's mandatory. If you do take it off, you do actually lose quite a bit of your clear time, because you need to go hunt down all the little mobs that don't actually get hit by it. And then rejuvenation. That is one that I can actually get rid of. That is completely dead mod to me. It does give a little bit of anomaly and some armor and stuff like that. But yeah, I just haven't been able to get anything else on there. Some other mods that you could fit in. We'll speak about it at the end of this once we get through all the pieces. Let's move on to the hands. We have Etna. This is mandatory because it will give you the extra increased cooldown on one, so you get another charge. And then also inflicts burns to damage enemies. So that will do your burn, and then your ash blast with your ash, and then your overheat will just consume it, and it's just like a vicious cycle. And then bullet killing over here is good. I just happen to get bullet killing on my boots as well, so that's a dead mod right there for me because I have 2 of them, and I just haven't been able to get anything else. My luck is really bad in the last few days trying to farm this up. But that bullet killing, change that to Ashen Boost and you'll be perfectly fine. Either or on whichever piece. And then Ash Increase Range is another really important one. Because without the Ash Increase Range or Ash Blast, this doesn't really go that far. So it just doesn't hit like nowhere near the size of what your overheat does. So I would almost say that's pretty mandatory. Up to you though if you want to run around and just spam it near closer to mobs. But with that you can spam it from much further away and will have a much larger area. So I would say go with that. And then moving on to our boots, no resistance against the fortified and unstoppable force. These 2 are very mandatory. They give you a lot of anomaly power. And with skill tree, they actually just give you flat damage. The resistance piercing gives you literally flat damage to this build. And then bullet killing, obviously I would want that to be the Ashen Boost on there because you can't have both at the same time. I mean, 2 bullet killings is a waste of mods as I have 2 there. So either one of these I want them to be Ashen Blast or Ashen Damage, just, so you got that increased 12% ash damage. Now, tongue-tying myself. So mods that I could suggest is obviously you could swap out the ash increase range if you really want it. I would say don't do that. Leave that on there. And then Master Consumer. You could drop this one for Pompeii, which is another cooldown on your Eruption. Ideally, you would want to have Pompeii and Ashen Boost as your 2 missing mods that I'm missing right now in the build. And that would just give you 12% flat damage increase on all Ash targets, which is pretty much everything. And also give you that 1 extra increase in your Eruption. But it works perfectly fine without it, does a crazy amount of damage. And let's speak about weapons real quick. I don't have the ideal weapons because you want to get something with armor pierce and then status power on it. The Damascus offering is a good example. I just haven't got any for this. But yeah, this is a really good backup. I mainly just use the Mythos for everything, like bossing and trash, because it gives you the Fortress, you get the Mage's Rage from critical shots, and then the Omen is just a nice little big chunk of damage there, and 10% increased damage for 3 seconds. So really nice little proc there. And then I have the Messenger with Dimensional Rockets, Mage's Rage, and Fortress. So your weapons, they don't really... For this build, your Eruption is really going to do so much damage, you don't need weapon mods and stuff. Basically just Fortress and Mage's Rays as your stat stick is the best options for you. Just if you could get armor pierce and status, that would be amazing. And yeah, just keep a lookout for that. Death Ray, I believe, has armor pierce and status, and that comes with Mage's Rage. And then hopefully you could maybe get Fortress or something, and then you can just roll around with that. But moving on to our skills, obviously we're using Eruption, Overheat, Ash Blast. Relatively good cooldowns, that's why 1 high cooldown with this build. And in our class tree, we're running down the bottom and we're going up to the top to pick up Hot Situation. So we get Anomaly Power, increased mark damage, Anomaly, mark damage, Anomaly. Then we go up for Extinction, just deal more damage to enemies under a certain threshold. Max HP, we got Incinerate, so when burn ends it inflicts Ash. And then we have mark weapon damage. That doesn't really help us, but we just need to use it to get up to Hot Situation. Activating Mobilize increases your Anomaly by 45% for 10 seconds. So that's your Ash Blast, and the cooldown on Ash Blast is 10 seconds. So we'll pretty much always have that up. And then I went for Resistance Pierce over there and Armor Pierce because in our Pax Tree that just gives you flat damage, and because of no resistance against the Fortified, giving you Anomaly from your Resistance and Armor Pierce. So moving on there, we just have Weapon Damage Anomaly, Anomaly, increase your resistance, make you a little bit more tanky, and then there's Anomaly, and increase your Resistance Piercing again, yet again giving you more damage. And there's your damage against elites. It's like a little mini Captain Hunter. And over there we do have our cooldown for Eruption, really nice. Or if you feel like you don't need that, you could actually take that off and then go up here for a little bit more damage. But I like to have my cooldowns really fast, even though I'm a little bit over the global cooldown cap right now. And then moving on to explosive skill based damage by 30%. This is just a lot of damage onto your Master Consumer, your Overheat and your Eruption. So both of your damage abilities will get 30% more. And then moving on to our Pax Tree, this is where we get a lot of our damage from. With Mounting Point, increase your resistance piercing by 15% when above 80% HP, which is pretty much all the time, and 30% when above 40% HP. So it's a nice just increase in resistance boost. Explosive skill damage increased by 100% of your resistance piercing. So the explosive skill being your overheat and your eruption, and that is why we also, another reason we go with the resistance piercing, just plain flat out extra damage. Over there we've got cooldowns. So all your cooldowns get reduced when all of your cooldowns go on cooldown. That's why you'll see quite often, as soon as you use like all your cooldowns, they come back really quickly. It's because like Convection, really strong. And then Backdraft increases your anomaly power by 30% for each skill on cooldown. That's why you want to use your Ash Blast and Overheat before you hit both of your eruptions, because then you get 60% increased anomaly power on them. And Trigger Sequence, this is what pretty much makes you one-tap bosses. Activating explosive skill increases the damage of the next explosive skill by 25%. The buff stacks up to 3 times, after which it starts anew. So that's why you want to hit your Ash Blast, and then you want to hit your Overheat. So Overheat counts as an explosive skill, you got 1 stack. Then you hit your first eruption, you've got 2 stacks. And then you hit your second eruption, you have another stack. And then ideally, if you had a third eruption, that last third eruption would have the full stacks and would just delete anything in front of it. So that's why ideally you want to work towards your 3 stacks of eruption eventually with the mods. But other than that, that's pretty much all there is to it. And go out there and live your Pyromancer dreams. I hope you guys go and burn off all the maps and everything and have a lot of fun with this build. And I wish you the best of luck in getting the good rolls for it so you guys can actually get this build. If you liked the video and you like my channel, please drop a like and a sub. It helps me out so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. August out.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the wind crying